welcome to a new phase of life coaching here, because before I was just taking questions, and it's hard to coach someone when all you have is just a question, because in order to answer that or build a strategy for somebody, you have to know more about the person. And you have to kind of find out what's important to them, what's not important to them, and you have to know something about their life. So when I'm coaching with someone, I want to know about them and what they like and what they don't like, and what means something to them, what doesn't mean anything to them, what they absolutely hate, what they absolutely love, and things that matter to their personal life. Because I always feel like in life coaching, you are the best expert on your life. Because life coaching is it's not psychiatry, because that sort of deals with the past. It's not advice, because that is working to correct the present. And life coaching helps create the future of where your life is going, and how to move on and accomplish something that's really important for you. So in this segment, from here on, I've done a lot of life coaching. I've done a lot of talks with people, and I'd like to bring you, instead of just taking a question and building an imaginary scenario, bring you actual situations that took place, and how we resolved them, and what directions they took. Because I think that'll be really helpful for you to understand kind of what life coaching is. And in some ways, you're sort of troubleshooting for somebody. You're seeing what their either dilemma is or what their goal is, and you're helping them coach them through that. So I'd like to share with you something that actually happened. And this is a good one, and it was a challenge, because for me as a life coach, I have to wait and hear what somebody has to say before I can just offer any kind of advice. Because no two life coaching segments or sessions are alike. It's not like what I learned in one I can readily apply to the next one. There's no formula. I mean, there's some questions that you can ask that are some basic ones, but still, a good 80% of what I do is based off of what I get from that person, because I got to find out what's the most important thing for them, because it's their life. And I got a letter from somebody, and let me preface all this by saying I'm going to do this anonymously, as far as who the people are, what their names are, and sometimes even maybe what their gender is, not to give away any confidences. And almost all of these folks are folks that have written back or said something online, and so it's not anything that is really super confidential. I'm not going to give away even in part. So, but this was a good one, and this is something that this person even shared online. A lady came to me, and she said, I got an issue. I don't know how quite to deal with it. And she says, I have a couple sons, and one son is a war hero, and has fought for our country, and literally a decorated war hero, and come back from the war to go into his own business, and is successful in that. Her other son is in prison, and he's going to be getting out soon, and she doesn't know how to quite approach him, or how to make him feel welcome, or how he's going to feel coming out. Do you throw a party for them? Do you what do you say? So as we're talking, I'm listening, and I'm realizing that both of these guys are tough guys. You know, I mean, they had a sort of tough guy existence. So I remember saying, you must feel pretty safe when you're with either one of them. You know, because one, you know, to live in prison and survive there, I mean, you got to be a tough guy. You got to know the streets. And so he's somebody that I probably feel safe with if I was just hanging out in a bad neighborhood, you know, because he could see what's going to happen ahead of time. And he says, of course, your other son, he's he's a war hero, so I'm sure there's nothing he can't handle. So I said, you have to see the similarities between these two. It's just at different times their life took different trajectories. Raised by the same person in the same house under similar conditions. You know, they're not that many years apart, and just different people do different things. But there are similarities. But her heartbreak was when he comes out, how will it make him feel welcome? How will it make him feel like he's part of everything? Part of our lives. Because when you're away, you know, you're away from everybody. And he has some children, and it's hard to communicate with the kids or can stay connected to those kids because he's been away for a while. So as I'm listening to her, I thought the most important thing here is going to be what the guy in prison thinks that everybody thinks of him. And the most important person is going to be his mother. So I suggested to her, I said, why don't you do this? Since he's not going to be getting out for a little while, you still have time. Why don't you write a letter? And in that letter, write down like all the things you admire about him. Because he's been living in a world that's been accusing him of all the things they don't like about him. And that's why he's in prison, because the law doesn't like this about you, and you did this wrong, and you did that wrong, and you shouldn't be here, you should have been over there, and you should have done this with your life. It's like accusatory. I says, let's try something different. What I'd like for you to do is write a letter of all the things you admire about him, the things you love about him, the things you remember about him that makes you look forward to seeing him again, and the things you respect about him. He says, however that letter is, however long it is, just write it. I says, and if you want, you can call me, and we'll do another session, and we'll go through the letter together. You know, we'll talk about it. I'll read it with you, or I know it's going to be hard for you to read it, but I'll read it to you over the phone, and we'll talk about each and everything. And that's what she did. So she wrote this letter, and she called, in the next session, she called me back, and she read it to me. Oh, I'm thinking, man, she really just loves this guy, you know, and it's something when you see it in writing. Because I'm trying to think, who's going to write a letter like that about me? You know, because as an artist, you know, you have fans, you have people that love your music, or what this song did for me, or what this performance did for me. But that's only a slice of your life. You know, it's not, they haven't lived with you. They haven't grown up with you. They know you for the art that you present. But this is like, I admire things that you did when you were 5 years old, and what you said to me one time when I was really depressed, and how you brought me something to make me feel better when you were a little boy, and how I always saw this and that in you. And I'm reading this letter, and I'm thinking, wow, this guy's he's gonna melt. I'm telling you. So, you know, she wrote it. So, you know, when you're writing a letter to somebody, tell them how you feel about them, it's hard to read it without crying. So I read it, and we went through it piece by piece, and I said, you know what, you have to send this. You just have to, because I promise you, he's going to get this letter. It's going to be unexpected. He's not going to know it's coming. He doesn't anticipate this. It's out of the blue. But what this is going to do for him is going to make him feel that there's somebody out there who really sees him and respects him for who he is. Because he's coming out of an environment that's not looking at him in a favorable eye. I says, and I promise you, he'll read it, reread it, reread it, reread it. And that's exactly what happened. She sent him that letter, and boy, it changed everything. It changed his perspective on what he was looking forward to, and how he was anticipating coming home. And he didn't know that she had thought all these things, and there's things in there that he totally forgot about. And it gave him a better perspective of himself too. So when we talk about life coaching, it's like a real situation, because she had a goal, and that goal was moving forward. How do I reestablish a relationship with my son when he comes out of prison, not knowing all the things that he's been through? Where do we go from here? And that's kind of life coaching. It's creating your future. So he not only read it, but she got a chance to write a letter to her other son as well, and not to leave one out. And it so enhanced the relationships there that it made me jealous. You know, I was thinking, man, would you write a letter about me? I mean, I'm trying to think, who's going to write that many things about me on my personal side? You know, I got nieces and family members that I can't even find, man. They won't even text me, get well, you know. So this was a tremendous blessing. These are the type of things that I love to be a part of, because it's bringing healing into somebody's life. And sometimes you just don't know what to do, and you need that outward person. And I like to say that what I am is I'm that guy that's outside of your fire, helping you find out where God is. And it's not that it's we're eliminating scripture from it, because it's all about scripture. To love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, the first and greatest commandment. The second is like to the first, to love your neighbor as yourself. So this is like loving your neighbor as yourself. What would you want somebody to do for you? What would you want somebody to say to you? And that's exactly what happened. Now he's had that letter, and he's read it and reread it hundreds of times. You know, and as he reads that, he starts to see those things in himself, and reminds himself of all his good things. Where in prison, they're going to always remind you of the bad things you've done, because that's why you're there. But now he needs to be reminded of all the good things. So I'm anticipating the next session is when he comes out, and to see how that works out, and see what the dynamic is, him coming home, or what the relationship is, especially having children, you know, and they haven't seen them, so who knows what's going to happen. But that's what life coaching is all about, and that was a really warm-hearted time. So hopefully I get a chance to have a session with you. And it doesn't matter what you bring to the table, I don't care, because I believe that at that moment I'll have the right stuff to say. And I think this is something that I believe that I'm called to do, and it's very rewarding. Actually, I have to be honest, it's a little bit more rewarding than getting up on stage. Only because when I get up on stage, I've kind of done it before, you know, I've done those songs. So this is all new. Every life coaching scenario is different. I hope you enjoyed this.